facilities upgrade.
Who's starting this off?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm stuck in
It's okay, Ron.
We're good? All right, welcome everyone. We are going to start off tonight with the Facilities Committee meeting. Today's Tuesday, May 6th. So we will start with, there's no public comment. So we'll start with bid results for electronic access control modifications.
All right, so this is part of the competitive school safety grant that the district was awarded last year that Dan DeRiso wrote for the district, $450,000 if you remember. The first bid we put out was for the doors, redoing some door entryways that were that needed refurbished. And this second part is for electronic entry systems on various doors throughout the district. And then this along with the door work will cover the entire grant, $450,000. Plus there will be about $45,000 additional that we'll have to take from capital. But we've got and all the work that we're doing with this grant was recognized within the state police reports for each of the buildings and recommended to be done by the state police. So,
And are these control modifications replacing existing?
I'll let him jump in. And
Sean, what was that, what's the ratio, was what, 10 to 90%? Grant money versus our money?
yeah, it's $450,000 grant money and about $45,000 of
Okay,
our.
not 10%. Okay, great.
So these access points that the bid covers are in addition to the access points that we already have. So this is for doors that are egress in the building. So these points were deemed for security and quicker entry in and out of the building. Some of these points, and then just some points that have been needing them and have been lacking them.
So additional.
So yeah, it's all additional.
There's no upgrade or anything, this is just all.
Some of the panels, so some of the existing reader panels are small. They can only accommodate so many readers per panel. So some of this does include the upgrading of the panels to afford more access points being installed. So those are the upgraded portions of it.
So the doors before, they were not as critical, that's why we're adding them now? Or?
We're adding them now just because some of the points we're trying to create a more streamlined entry into the buildings. So by adding access panels to certain doors, it allows us to control having a more funneled entrance into some of the buildings so that we can have more secured entryway.
For students or
For visitors, people coming to the building for business or just parents getting entry into the buildings. So, for example, when we have parents or visitors come into the building, we can have a phone at the entryway where they would hit the button to get admission into the inner lobby. Then there would be a panel inside so that also if staff are showing up, they have their way they can enter the building with their badge, the fobs, to get into the building with the readers. And then we can also have more access panel points for giving entry to visitors. And then there's also other points around the exterior of the building where we're adding it so people with fobs can enter the buildings through those entryways as well.
So double layer security.
Good safety.
We had some issues like you might have a playground, a door entryway where the teacher's trying to go in and out with the kids, doesn't have a fob.
That's
Putting a
a good
fob there, get the kids in and out
Yeah,
with
now that makes
fobs.
sense, I'm not sure, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
multiple entrants for parents, how many points are we adding for $400,000?
How many points is this covering? I'll have
That's
to
the
find
second
out how many
sheet.
total points of entry this is adding, but it's to the entranceways, and then like we also said, the other exterior points of the building where there isn't, where they would be outside, for example, for a fire drill or emergency exit if they would need to get back in. It just allows them quicker access to the building to get back in. But I can find out the total
Just,
number of
yeah,
access
total
points this is
additional.
adding.
I saw the one sheet where it
I think it's on the PDF for the bid 225-113 has it broken down by building, what's it
had,
added.
what the cost, does it say how many?
Yeah, the cost, but if you scroll down to page
Oh, I
8,
didn't know
I think it's page 8, it starts to list, or 8 and 7.
Oh, wow.
It's-
that. I missed that.
Right there, I think is where it starts.
Page 8?
7,
Looks like 15 total across the different buildings.
It's not cheap.
No.
So 15.
I think it's roughly 17 readers.
Oh, sorry.
17 readers, but then that's also the equipment that is not, it's also gonna be updating the modulars that the readers go into.
Well, you have to put a lot of stuff. I understand. Okay. I thought it was a lot more than
They are expensive.
Mhm.
that. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Especially the recessed one, that certainly, if it doesn't have a door, it's got, they just prop it open. So-
Correct. Right.
Can't do that.
We're trying to get away from that.
Okay.
And again, every place where they're being added is recommended by the state police when they did the evaluations of the
And
building.
you're able to cover all this? Leland?
I don't think we got them all, but,
Okay.
okay? All right. That's the bids. Then we have some obsolete items for this month. We have some chairs at Dabbler that are being removed. And at Central Middle School, we have some 3 AV carts that are no longer needed in poor condition, and some 40 green sweater vests that are being thrown away, no longer used. So.
No
Any-
questions.
Any more questions? All right, that concludes facilities. The next scheduled meeting is June 10th.
Moving right along. Hold on. All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll jump right in. Again, there's no public comment, so we'll skip right to that. We're gonna go on to the review of contracts for approval, and I'll turn that over to Sean.
Okay, thank you. We have a number of contracts this month. First contract is Judge Healthcare. We've used Judge Healthcare previously in the district. This is for personal care and teaching assistants. As for the attached fee schedule, so this is for another avenue for substitutes for those positions when needed. Second contract is Bucks County Intermediate Unit. This is for a product called Sentinel One. This is a technology product for security, and this is replacing a different product that we currently use. Okay. Next contract.
How much was the old one? What was the difference with what we, why did we switch, just
I
not?
believe the annual difference was about 20 to 30,000 for a 12-month period.
Correct.
The difference. Yeah.
And this is managed, this is like 24/7 monitoring as well.
What did we have before that?
It was a Palo Alto product. And this is being replaced with it's a statewide consortium now, Mr.
That's
Lewis.
so it's
So,
for the
yeah,
IU.
so,
And this
through
is,
the IU, correct.
And this product has the monitoring, like Diane said, and it's 24/7, and it's, like you said, the consortium pricing, which
Consortium,
through the
statewide
entire
consortium,
district.
right.
what does it monitor?
it's a
Cyber
It's-
activity.
Cyber.
endpoint.
Correct.
It's the endpoint.
It's endpoint protection.
Endpoint.
Okay,
So it'll run on each device and every server, so it's endpoint protection.
better than the one we had.
Well, it's along with the monitoring as well, which is big. big
The monitoring being,
Somebody will be watching 24/7. So if something happens, there's a person watching things in the middle of the night.
okay, and we didn't have that before.
We did not.
Okay, that's a big improvement. Okay.
The next one, letter C, this is the annual Lenovo Financial Services Agreement. This is for the lease for the one-to-one laptops. and the refresh of certain employee laptops. We do these for 4 years, for the 4 years, the kids 9th through 12th grade. And the rate factor is 0.25210. Annual payment will be $275,501. So that's in line with our normal, with our other leases, correct, Diane? The factor is.
The other four, or?
Yep.
So how long have we been with Lenovo?
10 years at this point, Ron, I think.
Do we ever get a quote from someone else? Is it?
So we've looked at other ones. We try and stay with that same vendor for support purposes. Because that way they're the same all the way across the board instead of having to support Dell, HP, and Lenovo, which would be the three biggest.
Is it worth looking? I mean, if it's,
So I mean, we certainly could look. They're all about the same price point though, because they have like their education model, which is what, you know, everybody comes in right around that same price point.
okay. That's okay.
Okay. Letter D, crowd pleasers. This is DJ for North Middle School for next school year for 5 events, and that's paid for by the student council fundraising. Next, the contract is our renewal for PSBA insurance. This is for the better unemployment compensation system. So this is the professional service that PSBA provides for oversight and representation for unemployment compensation claims. So they take care of our representation for those claims. If we go to a hearing or anything like that, they do that, take care of that for us. And they're there with our folks.
Okay. How often does that come up?
Hearings as far as,
So they don't handle the management of they just handle legal aspects of it?
they handle legal aspects. They are a representative for the unemployment commission. And they make sure that anybody who is receiving unemployment it's happening properly. We're being charged properly.
Okay.
We're not being overcharged or vice versa. So they have complete oversight of the whole process, and they do it for other districts across the state. So they're very good at administering unemployment in school districts. Okay. The next contract is FMX. This is a renewal for our building use and subscription fee and our Schedule Star integration. So this is our facility management software that we use throughout the district for work orders, facility use, and so forth. And this is a renewal, same software.
Renewal, the same software we've been using, so for tickets, scheduling, building usage, it's the same program that we've been using. This would give us another year of the services.
So you track all your work orders, what else?
Our work order tickets are implemented through this, building usage is scheduled through this program. The calendar that everyone can view for what events are taking place and when and where.
You mean for maintenance and?
For tickets for maintenance and custodial are implemented through this program, yes.
Just work orders.
Work orders, yes.
To do anything else or just?
The building use scheduling.
Facility use scheduling.
Ron's trying to squeeze
Our preventative maintenance programs are implemented through this.
That's more than,
Yeah.
you track everything. You know,
Correct, yeah, it tracks
equipment's in
everything.
there, all your equipment's in there, you
Mhm.
tell it.
How long have we been using FMX?
This is our
This
third.
is our.
This will be our third year.
This, yes.
We used that school dude and we changed to 2 years
Everybody
ago.
changed from school.
Yeah, school dude was what everybody was using for the longest time, and everyone's been switching over. This is the popular one everyone's been using.
So it's 11,000 a year for
Correct.
that.
Yeah. I think school dude, when we changed, it was in excess of 18 to 20,000, if I remember correctly. It was getting costly.
Mhm. Yeah, and if I remember, the big complaint with the old school dude was the cost kept going up, but it wasn't doing anything different or newer.
Next contract is a new one. This is with the Bucks County Intermediate Unit. This is for the Safe to Say something tip response services. This cost will be $3.65 per student, and that'll be for the 25-26 school year. So this service gives us 24/7 coverage for our Safe to Say. It'll be available. They'll take the calls overnight and on the weekends, and then be in contact with our administrators. So it's
So that's
Is this the-
$18,000 per student, $365 per student.
per student.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd like to speak to this. So how it works right now from anytime we receive a tip from Safe to Say, so the tipster enters something about a student may self-harm, a threat to the schools. How it works now is we receive a phone call from Safe to Say and an alert. There are times when administrators may not be manning his or her phone or be available for a call. And how it works is if we, like, let's say someone reports a student may self-harm, we would typically send a police car out. So we work with 5 different police departments right now. So typically this tip is triaged through building principals Joe Gallo and Dr. Palmer. So then they start to figure out, they have to go into student information system, find the student, relay that information to the local police department, and sometimes these calls can occur midnight, they occur on the weekend. I know in a past life when I was a principal, I spent a lot of time tracking down students' information, attempting to contact parents. So we think this is an excellent, not that we were trying to add any more expenditures to our district, but I think it adds a layer of protection and checks and balances for us. From 6 p.m. at night to 6 in the morning, this system will be monitored, and through this agreement, we will provide access to our contact information, so these trained professionals will do that pick and shovel work behind the scenes. And I think it adds that layer of protection that if a child is in danger of, again, doing something dangerous or self-harmful, and we're sleeping, we know that that call will be reached. Then 6 o'clock the following morning, we will get a report about what occurred throughout the night and the course of action taken. And we can take the baton from there and follow up with the student and family. So we think this is a excellent monitoring system. It also covers the weekends. It covers winter break, spring break, and all summer. So we have that monitoring. I think it's money well spent. Several other districts in Bucks County are utilizing this service. And at our last Bucks County superintendent's meeting, there was a push to try to get more districts to buy into this consortium and then hopefully lower the price point for us. So thank you for indulging me as I explain this to you.
Thank you. You did a much better job than I.
No, you're just fine, Sean.
So will this person have, we just contact somebody here in the middle of the night, we still have to look up?
No,
Or they will have
no,
that
they
info?
will, so let's break it down. If Safe to Say receives a tip, that they will in turn contact this service that we are using through Bucks IU. They will, not a Penridge employee, our contracted employees who are all retired EMS, police officers, et cetera, they will reach out to the family and the local police department to hopefully, provide support.
Yeah.
So we think it's a service, one of many that Bucks IU continues to offer districts and students.
Now, it says here, services, $3.65 per student.
Yes.
Is that per call?
No,
Phone call?
no, that is a flat rate. So if we had 10 tips per night, 365 days a year, it's a
Okay.
flat fee.
Okay,
So another
all right, got it. So it's based really on the usage.
Yeah.
I think
Pardon, say that?
It's based on the usage, how many times you can call.
No.
No, it does not. We are paying a flat fee of approximately $20,000.
On the number of students.
Okay, total.
On number of
Total
students, I
students.
misunderstood your question.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
So
Total students.
when we do that, it's good to put a total cost. You know, 365. I mean, we all know that it's helpful to have what it's gonna cost us.
Yeah, I mean, if it's, that's a good idea.
I did, when I was working with the representative from Bucks IU, I tried to get this parsed out for just secondary students. It's a cost savings measure. Because we typically don't get many elementary tips, but they were unable to meet us there. But maybe in the future. So.
Maybe if you get a total consortium, then you can,
Yeah.
Yes.
you got more room to negotiate.
Okay. Next contract would be letter H on the agenda. This is Bucks County Community College. This is a no-cost contract to the district. They are allowing us to use their parking lots as overflow parking for graduation, but they just want to have a contract in place. So we have Mr. Ketty has reached out, has the agreement, but we just need to follow up with the documentation. So they're
Makes sense.
very gracious to allow us to use the parking lots, and then we'll have buses to be able to move people
Shuttle.
back. Shuttle.
We have no liabilities at all if something happens in the parking lot between X and Y and someone gets hurt in a car accident in the parking lot? Have we been indemnified of any of those responsibilities? And again, I'm just thinking.
Us
out left
using,
field.
using their parking lot, we would not be indemnified, we would be the responsible party as using their park. As we do, when someone comes in and uses our facility, we make them provide insurance and make them sign, to hold us harmless if something happens. So we have, our insurance would certainly be responsible to pick up.
Okay, all right.
We are on, you missed the facility meeting, this was about 5 minutes long.
Ooh, because that's what I was kind of planning for.
We are on the review of contracts, we haven't got to the budget yet. Number 8, right?
Yeah, letter I, we just did H. I is another contract with the Bucks IU. This is for technical services for the period of time from March 17th to June 30th, as needed and if needed. Okay,
When you say tech services,
yes, tech support.
or
Yes.
what?
For, any well, when we were doing the security upgrades, if needed, that's what this is for.
So this is as it uses.
Yeah, only if needed.
Only.
We had them on standby, but they want to follow up with the documentation to make sure that everything is done there. So.
Is there anything budgeted for this over the next year?
This is just up until this coming June 30th.
So we just started using them, or?
It was when we did our security upgrade, we had them on standby. And
Okay.
did we use them a little
For
bit,
a couple hours.
for a couple hours?
Okay.
For a couple
Yep,
hours.
just
So
for a
it's not-
couple
it's not
hours,
gonna be
that we
a
needed their professional help during that.
So this only goes, so will there be another one next year, or are you gonna?
Only if we would need them
Only
for
if we-
something.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
We
you
just,
engage
we just
them.
needed them for that upgrade that we did. Okay?
Okay.
Next contract is our last. This is Instructure Incorporated. This is a 2-year Canvas cloud subscription for 2025 through 2027. And the cost is outlined there at $27,585 for the first year and $28,980 for year 2. And this is a renewal. You've used Canvas for.
Do you pay a separate yearly thing for Canvas too? Or is this Canvas Cloud, is that just for,
This would be for. This
just the
would be-
cloud?
This is the
This-
Canvas
this is-
subscription.
Yep.
The whole Canvas, okay.
Yep, this is the whole.
Thought it was paying
Yep.
for storage.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's A through J for contracts. Moving on.
Is that,
Then-
excuse me, is
yeah.
that under like would that be considered under the technology budget?
Yeah. Wait a minute, Canvas would be under
Curriculum.
curriculum budget.
Curriculum.
Yep, sorry. Mhm. Yep.
So we spread out the cost of technology through the department? that you
Yes,
utilize.
yes. Mhm. Okay. All right. Moving on, number 3, this is the annual PSBA membership renewal for 25-26. Cost is $18,157. That's up slightly from $17,999. And then we have,
This is the only, I always ask this, but they're basically the only group out there right now. Like, there's not like a comparative group to, look into that has the same amount of services where they suggest policies. I'm pretty sure that's still the case. But just always like to ask.
yeah, I don't know.
I'm unaware of any
Well-
other entities.
Is there stuff we're not taking advantage of here since we're paying that much money? I know they offer consulting and things, but so does the IU that we're gonna pay for that either, so I'm not sure that'll be helpful.
They'll come and do presentations if we ask. There's lots of
Yeah.
educational things if you look through their courses and on their website. They'll even come here and present for
Yeah.
us.
No, I'm
Sign up
aware
for
of
the
that, so
12
the
courses.
IU we use for a lot of those presentations too, so.
Yeah.
they're Certainly.
Yeah, the board gets a lot with the membership. It's just how much the board wants to,
Yeah.
pull from it. It is, I mean, this is your organization as a school board, and okay. The next one, moving on to number 4, we have a student activity request. This is the National Arts Honor Society for students that are participating in the arts. And they're looking to start up a student activity account and support of students that are artistic in this program.
So they need to be on the honor roll of
Yeah,
specific, so it's high honor.
high honors for kids that are in the
Oh, and then this would be a club, then, right?
Yes,
Or-
yep, student activity club, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the National Honor Society, this is the
club.
National Arts Honor Society. So they would do the same type of things. Number 5 are a number of bids that we put out recently, and these are the results. There is detailed line-by-line items with yellow highlighters of the lowest bid for each of these. Just to save you from going insane, I'm not gonna read through every one of these pages and all the numbers, but the first one is for tech ed supplies, and we have 5 companies that won items on tech ed supplies. The second one is wood shop supplies, and we have 3 companies that had a low bid for items there. Letter C is lumber supplies.
Excuse me, sorry, can we go back to A?
Yeah.
Is that, when you show on these are the results of the bids?
Mm-hmm.
Why is one $47 and one $1,711? Is that a typo? The other one, pyramid, is,
So Metco, so Ron, on the spreadsheet that's there attached, each of the companies is across there,
yeah,
and then the items that they want are highlighted in yellow, and then they're totaled at the bottom. So Metco won $1,711 worth of items.
Okay.
Yep, and then Paxton Patterson won $47. So, yep. So each, the detail is there for each, if you wanna look through it. Down to lumber supplies, we had 3 companies awarded items there. Music instruments and equipment, 4 companies awarded items. Shop fluids, we had a number of companies there.
this something we do every year?
Yep, do these every year. We had 3 companies on that one, that one items. Brake parts, 7 companies for brake parts, and then transmission parts, 6 companies there on that.
That's
Yeah.
for all of our equipment.
Yeah, that's, so the ones from transportation are for, all the parts
Okay, yeah.
that
just-
we,
okay.
that we can get bids on.
Mhm.
Some parts we can, and then we just have to buy them.
Got it.
The other ones are for, supplies and equipment for the school. Yeah.
It's good to see you get a
Yep.
number of bids.
Yeah.
Keeps me honest.
Okay. All right. Moving on, we'll start the budget reviews, and we have Diane here this month to do the technology first, before we get to the general fund.
All right, thank you. Thank you to the public for attending too. So this should go pretty quick and pretty easily, hopefully. Let's see. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna walk you through the 2020, or the 25-26 technology budget. I have it organized by major objects. So we'll go through major object by major object. You'll see what we spent last year, what we're proposing for this year, and any kind of a variance and any kind of notes or anything that we might need to explain, hopefully. So the first slide here is for purchase professional technical services. And this covers our Microsoft campus agreement, meaning that anything Microsoft, so everything that you're running on the computers in front of you, anything that runs on the servers, our SQL instances, this all comes under the Microsoft campus agreement. Network consulting and support. We talked a little bit about, Ron, you had asked if we had like a contract each year with the IU for any kind of services that we might need outside of our expertise. So that would be included in here as well. It's almost like an open PO with them. So it's pay as you go. So there's something in the budget for that each year. So we can go to them for things that we might not have that expertise in our own environment. Technology Pool Consortium. So this is a consortium of all the districts in Bucks County that we share cost for a attorney who specializes in technology. So it's Mr. Mark Walls. You guys have probably heard that name before. So what this allows us to do is we can actually, anyone from within the county can, or within any of the school districts, we can put a question out to him and he'll respond to it, and then he shares it with everyone who's in that who's in the consortium. There's been a lot of talk about AI lately, so he has already come here and he's done like presentations for us. So that's all part of the Technology Pool Consortium. The next area would be E-rate consulting. So we do have monies that come through. It's federally funded E-rate for certain just very specific things that we can use it for. There's a pool of money. We had it for 5 years. We're hoping that it's re-upped again for another 5 years, but it's very strictly controlled. There's a lot of legal forms, everything that needs to be like, your I's have to be dotted and your T's have to be crossed for this. So we do have a consultant who helps us for that. And then staff training and development also falls under here. So last year, it was budgeted at $163,350. This year, I've raised it up $5,000 to account for an increase in the Microsoft agreement. And that Microsoft agreement, is per person who has like a computer per license. So anyway, that's bumped a little bit.
How much is the Microsoft in that? 160?
$85,000.
Okay. And how much is the E-rate consulting?
The E-rate is $7,500.
So,
$7,500, yes.
sounds like a lot of work for $7,500.
So, and that can vary sometimes too, depending on how much the grant or the E-rate money is. So that'll kind of float sometimes as well. They get a percentage. but their flat fee is $7,500.
Who gets a percentage?
So the E-rate consultant,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so if we apply for, you know, $1 million, they do get a portion of that in their fee. The next big area is 400s, and that's our purchase property services. And this is where we have our technology device leases. So you saw that on the agenda already for the class of 2029. So it's $275,000 for this first year lease. We lease our computers for 4 years. So the leasing here is for the high school computers and for the staff computers. So you'll see that we went from, you know, only $150,000 4 years ago, $218,000, and then we bumped up $239,000, $275,000. That class of 2026, there was no big teacher refresh that year. This year we have the middle school teachers, they will all get new laptops this year. Last year, all the elementary teachers got new laptops. The high school teachers, we don't do them all at one time. They kind of go like 40 or 50 every year, depending who's been using their computer for 4 years. But doing it this way guarantees that every staff member, every teacher gets a new laptop every 4 years. That way we keep them refreshed. We don't have a lot of really old, you know, devices sitting around. The network switches that we utilize throughout the district, we also have them leased. That's a 5-year lease. We just did a full refresh last year, so we're in year 2 of that lease.
Can we get a cost per PC by year? I don't know, you
Sure.
said there were numbers, just want to see where the price is going.
Yes, yeah, and this year.
This looks like a huge increase, but the volume obviously made it less.
So, but the volume can also
Yeah,
make a
yeah,
difference
sure.
as well. But no,
Just
everything is
divide
going, everything's going up. Market's very volatile, going to tell you that right now. Tariffs were, you know, teetering on will we pay, won't we pay? So it's all pretty volatile right now, and that has definitely bumped prices up.
Okay. So the
But yeah, I can get
2029
you-
would be the one, that's the one we're doing now.
Correct. I can definitely get that for you. The other part of the purchase property services are contracts. So contracts such as our security contracts. So that contract that you heard about this afternoon or this evening from the Bucks IU for Sentinel One, that's included in this 400 object code as well. Firewall support contract is included in there. All our maintenance contracts for VMware, which is our virtual environment. Mimecast is an email security program that we're going to be launching this year that we're really excited about. Jamf is our iPads. As iPads go up, Jamf goes up. SmartNet, anything Cisco, so that's our switches, that's our access points, that's our, what else? What else, Chester? Switches, access points, what's the other big? Phones, that's the other big one. That SmartNet covers. So again, that's just their term for their support. So we went up this year, we have some additional Jamf and Veeam licensing. Veeam is our backup solution. So we've added another layer of backup, so increase the cost there as well. So the variance here, we are going up about $165,000. That's due not only to the increase of the device prices, but some of the increases of these security contracts as well. Number 500, other purchase services. So this is our transport services. This is pretty steady here. So we get our internet through Bucks County IU. That's where we get our, it's called the RWAN, Regional Wide Area Network. That comes through the IU. Locally, or it's still a wide area network, that comes through Crown Castle, and that's the fiber that we are responsible for. That's also E-ratable, that cost. So whatever that cost to Crown Castle is, we get 50% of that back because it's an E-ratable service. General property and liability insurance, I put in whatever my friend Dan tells me there. So that fluctuates a little bit, but not too much. And then there's travel for technicians between buildings. So there's a $3,000 increase this coming up. The IU is doing a whole like reconfiguration of their RWAN. They're building some more resiliency in. We all remember the squirrel chews, or don't we remember? You remember the squirrel chews. So they're increasing the resiliency. So we're gonna be having 2 ways in, and that's gonna increase a little bit. And that's spread across the whole county. So everyone in the county gets it through the idea. Oh, any questions on that one? The next big one is, and the last big one, is software and supplies. So this is the other lion's share of the budget here. So any subscription that has to do with like district-wide, we've got the student information system in there, we've got the online registration system, we have the ERP system, which is business and personnel, HR. That includes that position control that we saw at the last personnel meeting. Board docs, what you have up in front of each one of you right now. ClassLink annual subscription, that is our single sign-on. So that comes out of here as well. United Talent Professional Learning, that's coursework. So for the professionals. United Talent Records, that's when every new employee is onboarded. It all is digitized now. So it all goes through records. So another system. Net Support Classroom Management Software. School Messenger Mass Communication Platform, that was new this year.
How much was the school messenger?
That's a
Sorry.
great
I can
question.
just
I will,
I'm not
will,
there. Sorry.
I will find that out for you. I forget exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So, but no, yeah, that's an easy one. That's easy. And that school messenger also includes Safe Arrival as well, so that was kind of bundled together. Then that's the software, and then the supplies. And supplies are computers as well. So the computers for the middle school, that's their laptops. That includes their ADP and their warranty as well. That comes out of the 600s. Elementary student technology also comes out of this category, laptops and iPads. Now you're going to see when I flip to the next screen that we're going to have a decrease in this 600 object, and that's because there is no big refresh for the elementary student technology this year. So we have iPads for K1 and 2, and then we have laptops for 3, 4, and 5. We're on a 4-year replacement cycle, so this is not a replacement year for the laptops. So we can get another year out of that. So we're buying some loaners, but we don't have to buy, we don't have to refresh our whole class. The other thing that's under here is projectors, Wi-Fi projector adapters, docks, consumables, office supplies, cleaning supplies. That's really a mishmash of a catch-all, the 600s, because it goes from everything from Power School to, wipes. So that's all included in the 600s. So you'll see that it is going down by 186,000, and again, that's that off-year cycle for elementary laptop purchases. So that doesn't mean that just goes away, but that means for this year, we do have a savings there, okay?
What's your, I guess, and I don't know what the solution would be, but I know with you have students that are, young in elementary school and middle school, and sometimes they might not be mature enough how to handle their computers, and I know we have to pay that thing in the beginning. And I know you mentioned that you have to get more loaners, which I get it. Sometimes there's just glitches in the computer. It might not be because of anything that's wrong with the computer. But is that pretty steady each year with the amount of, ones that you have to replace because of misuse? Does that increase? Sometimes because it's not like theirs, it feels like they can, I don't know.
It all depends. Some classes are better than other classes. I will say we probably have more issues at the middle schools. The young kids we don't have problems with because they don't take them home.
Right.
They're not their computer.
Right.
But once you get in 6th grade, then they're taking them home. And one of the things that we try and stress, especially at the beginning of the year, is don't put it in your book bag and wing your book bag across the room because they break. So it all depends sometimes on different grade levels. The 6th graders, they're usually afraid, so they're good. By the time they get to 8th grade, they're ready to go, and you're laughing, but they're ready to go, and it's like there's a little less of that respect. So we do hit them in the beginning of, not hit them, we do encourage them. Cut that out, Dave. We do encourage them respect their laptop. And what we've done now, the past 2-3 years, this might be the third year, we have the parents come in with them when they pick up, so they hear the spiel as well. Sean, you're laughing at me too. That would be in the right to know. But they come in to hear the spiel as well, so, you know. But, yeah, it all depends. That was a lot of words for it all
No,
depends.
no, thank you for
On
that.
one more question on the variance there, since it's going down. You're almost at your budget already this year. If that piece wasn't, if we would be the normal buy of what you normally do, how much over would it be budget? Whatever that cost is coming at,
So I have to look at that for you.
is it a
So
lot more than 186 or?
it's not that much more than
So most of
186.
them.
It's a little over 200, I think.
That's good.
So is that close enough?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just shows that you're not really,
Yes.
it's not growing that much in this budget.
No. I mean, some things are going up, you know. Annual subscriptions go up 3 to 5% every year.
Okay.
It's just kind of a fact of life. There's that upcharge. So, you know, but without having to purchase that 500 devices for the elementary, it really did kind of bring it down. Oops, going on. And then that brings me to the final slide for the overall budget. So I'm coming in a little bit less, 13,575, because I had that big variance under here, and then I had, you know, the variance up here for the 400s. So, but it did come down a little bit. But again, next year, it's probably gonna end up going back up.
So how are you doing this year? You don't have much time left in this year, but you're
So-
almost at budgeted expenses. Are you gonna be way over this year or?
No, we shouldn't. Now, most everything is either encumbered or paid. There's nothing big left.
Okay.
So, no. Any other questions?
Should we go back to using textbooks? I'm
Not
kind of
my-
half
Not
joking.
my lifetime. We just went through online testing and we're getting through AP testing this year for the first time online. So-
Yeah.
so
How was that? We had some glitches, like, I don't know if it was there, something like it wasn't working, like a big thing would come up and the tickets weren't going out. It wasn't on like the district end, I think it was on
It was
their
on
end.
DRC's end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, it can glitch.
Right,
Technology can glitch, that's
Right.
for sure.
thank
All
you.
right, thank you. There you go.
Yeah. It is. Not the 60s. 18 slides.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I said
Yeah, let's move on, sorry.
All right, so here we are in May, we have our third look at the general fund budget for this year. Tonight, goals of the presentation, take another look at the capital projects fund, and look at that with some estimates in for actual capital projects for the next few years. State property tax relief, the amount came in, still waiting for some information from the county. To finish that, we know the amount of money we're gonna get from the state, where we're at with the 25-26 budget, and then how we move forward. So this is estimated capital projects. This is what we looked at last month, but what we've done in the estimated summer capital projects row, down lower towards the bottom, we have our amount for next summer, which we know is about $2.5 million, and then we plugged in $8 million for the summer of 2026 as a placeholder, and then $10 million for the next 2 summers and 12 for the summer after that. What we're learning so far in our discussions with ICS is things aren't getting any cheaper, and they seem to only be going up in cost. But we are working with them to develop a list of projects for the summer of 2026 that we will be bringing to you in June. ICS will come in June and at the committee meeting to talk about those and also give you an update on where they're at in the capital project planning process. And then we'll look to get approval for those projects at the June voting meeting, so that they can develop those projects, fully vet them, and get them ready for the summer of 2026 and get us the best prices possible. And then they will come back in August to really get into the nuts and bolts of the capital projects plan. They believe that they'll have a plan ready to really be able to share with you when we get to August.
So the June, we would just be approving them, approving anything?
June, what we're looking for is the summer of 2026 projects. So
What,
they
six?
Yes, so
Well, we
next,
wouldn't approve them then. We don't
yes,
have,
we approve them, and they're asking for us to approve.
So- they'll be fully quoted and everything?
They will be developing them, and they're asking us to approve them so that then they can finish developing them and put them out to bid. And
Do we
then
know approximately what it's gonna cost?
they'll have estimates when they come
Okay.
in June, so.
Because we're not committing to doing the project if the project come back.
Correct. If the bids come back and we
So
don't
we're
approve
approving
them,
them
then.
going out to bid.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that was.
So approve them to go out to bid, and then we would vote again.
Yeah, so
Got
we're
Thank
looking
you
at,
for
okay, these are the
clearing
things we wanna do
Please, I
for summer
appreciate that.
2026,
Right.
and then
Yeah,
The board
okay,
gives it
that's the
approval.
normal way.
they develop them, they put out the bid,
Then we
then
vote on
they,
the bid.
then they bring them back to you.
So just let the record reflect, because there's a lot of sidebars here. So ICS will come in June, and we will, or not we, they will present recommendations for the summer of 2026. And we would, the board would grant permission for ICS to go out, get bids, and then you would have to approve those bids. So you are not committing to, you're just granting permission for them to go out, get information, and approving certain projects. And you'll have that ability to talk about it publicly.
Really.
So, and that makes sense because they would at least let us know what they're going out to bid for, and we
Correct.
would say yes
Yeah.
or not, for them not to waste their time,
Yes.
if that's not something, I
Correct.
get that.
And they'll have estimates for us for what they believe they're gonna cost,
Okay.
you know, and then they'll go out.
And then, are there projects that they've decided can wait? Can we get, at least get a list of things that are on these? You know, some, we're not gonna do everything we want, 2026, right? But I'd like to know what other things are deemed less important.
That's all coming.
Okay, is that, would that be in August or whenever, or June?
That will be more of an August.
That's fine. Yeah, okay. Because we wanna look, for a capital plan, we wanna look 3 to 5 years out, right? So-
Absolutely. That's the goal, to have a 3 to 5 year document we can work through and then continue to update as we go.
Because that's the only, I know you put 10 and 12 out for summer projects, and before it was very low, but that's still just based on prior spending, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, which we would expect to go up because of inflation.
Yes.
So, we really, because it's hard to budget overall if you aren't sure of that number. This will certainly get us much closer to being accurate than that, which is very helpful.
My hope is when we get to August, then we can actually fill this chart out with something that is meaningful.
Me too.
Instead of, we're getting there.
That would give a lot more clarity, because your salaries and everything else is pretty easy to predict.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So, moving on from capital projects, state property tax relief, we've got this number, I believe we got this number on Friday. The state property tax allocation for, property tax relief allocation for Benridge is going up from $3.6 million to $4.1 million. The allocation's up 13.4% or $484,000. It'll increase the homestead farmstead deduction by approximately $40.31. Again, this is money from the state. This is from the gambling fund that must be returned. Whatever dollar we get needs to be returned to the taxpayers, the real estate taxpayers, through the homestead farmstead exemption. So it's a dollar for dollar swap. We keep none of this money. So we have the $4 million number. What we're waiting for from the Bucks County Assessment Office are the approved number of homesteads, approved number of farmsteads for this year. And based on the numbers used there for 24-25, changes the tax reduction amount from $301 to $341. So we've got a $40 increase in the reduction.
When do you get the money?
Money usually comes in pretty early in the fiscal year, August. Yeah. I think this state gets
So
into us in one
We're
payment.
not out money for a while based on lack of collections.
Correct. Yeah, we really don't see any real estate bills start to come in until August. So. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some come in July, but towards the end of August is when the discount ends. That's when the lion's share is coming. Okay. All right. So more information to come on this one, but just wanted to let you know what that increase was, what the increase in the assessed value reduction is for the homestead property. So if everything stayed the same, everybody with a farmstead property would see their tax bill go down by $40.31 compared to this year. So, okay, everybody, make sure everybody understands that. There's a lot to that. What we've been up to here, we continue with our cabinet level meetings, focused on budget reductions. Since our last finance meeting, we've again worked through revenue accounts and expenditure accounts, adjusted them as needed. I'll show you those adjustments on future slides. Back through the personnel budget again to make sure that we're good there. And we have continued our district-wide administrative review of all TAs and PCA positions and the needs for those positions within the district. And that is ongoing. Again, this is the Act 1 index slide. So showed you this slide each month. It just tells you what the current real estate mills are, and what the Act 1 allowance is, and how much additional money would be received by the district at the Act 1 amount of 4%. So it's 3.5 million. So revenue changes since our last meeting. The first two lines are reduction in real estate tax revenue and an increase in state revenue for property tax reduction. So you're seeing the dollar for dollar swap out there. We have reduced some salaries, which I'll show you on future slides. But along with reducing salaries, you also reduce the revenue coming in for the state share, Social Security and retirement. So overall revenue is down about $23,000. Looking at expenditures, since the last meeting, we've cut another $110,000 in salaries and $65,000 in benefits, for a total of $176,000 of continued or additional expenditure reductions. And what does that comes from? That comes from we received another retirement from a teacher, replacing that teacher with a new higher salary, or an average new higher salary. It saves about $77,000. We also received a clerical retirement, and that position is not going to be replaced, and that is about $98,000.
And
So
salary and benefits.
That's salary and benefit. Yep. So this is just a breakdown of what the previous slide is. So 176 reduction, and that's what it is. It's those two positions. So we have now, at this point, implemented $6.5 million in savings within this budget. Within that $6.5 million, some bigger ticket items are $860,000 for replacement buses that we removed from the budget. We removed 7 teacher positions that we eliminated through attrition. We've eliminated 11 PCA positions that were not actively filled by an employee. 8 TA positions that were previously funded through ESSER funds, which have now dried up. and now 1 clerical position. Total is 27 positions that we've eliminated from this budget in order to get to $6.5 million of cuts. And we've also not added 8 positions to the budget which were requested, and we decided that we will not add those. So that's the side that we've taken away, but we've also, if you remember, we've added some things to this budget. We've added EDR funding at $215,000, 1 full-day K teacher at every building. We've expanded the high school STEM program. A new school psychologist is in this budget, and 2 autistic support teachers, as well as elementary and middle school sciences. So we talk a lot about the things that we've taken out, but there's also some things that have been added to this budget which are needs of the district. And wants from the administration and the school board for these things that we've added, so. Oh, so, yeah, mine just, I have that, okay, thank you very much. Okay, so where we're at, after $6.5 million of cuts, the deficit of this budget without a tax increase remains at $3,220,000. The expenditures of this budget are up 2.5%. That is way under inflation. It's way under the index of 4%. So we have cut expenditures down to 2.5%. Where our problem is what we've been talking about for 3 months. It's on the revenue side. We have a 0.5% increase in revenue without a tax increase. So that's where our problem is. Our deficit is 3.2 million, but our true problem is on the revenue side. We talked about flattening local revenue, EIT, real estate taxes. Those are our big ones.
Mr. Dahlberg, may I interrupt you? So
Absolutely.
if someone's watching at home, when you say flattened EIT, could you just provide some examples?
So we're normally, the last few years, we've been seeing 5 to 6% increases in EIT, and we've budgeted accordingly. This year, our EIT revenue is running at 2.2%. So this year, we're short in excess of 3% on our EIT collections from what we have budgeted.
Just might want to say what EIT.
I'm sorry, earned income tax. Yeah, earned income tax. So our main revenues on the local side are real estate taxes and earned income taxes. Real estate taxes are our biggest, in excess of $80 million a year, and earned income taxes are in excess of $20 million a year.
So if someone were, let's say, working remotely, they reside in Penridge, and then they go back to the office, let's say to Philadelphia, the school district would not benefit from that earned income tax.
Correct, they would pay wage taxes to the city of Philadelphia.
Okay.
And the district would not receive earned income tax. So, on earned income taxes, like I said, we've seen that slow down. We've normally seen 5-6% increases per year. That this year it's running through the end of April at about 2.2%. So I'm estimating we're going to be short this year on that, on the income tax. And we did not build any increase into this 25-26 budget for earned income tax, because we've seen this trend throughout our budgeting process that we're just very short this year. So we didn't build any increase in. And I don't believe I think we're going to probably struggle next year to get to that, to the number that's budgeted this year that we're carrying through. So earned income tax, real estate tax flattening out as far as growth leaves us very little growth on the local revenue side. The state side, the governor's budget addressed, or the estimates that we received, Penridge gets a net of about $23,000 more, which is a very, very small increase. And then on the federal side, we budgeted where we're at this year, but again, from the federal side, we don't know what cuts may come down the road in the federal budget for education funding. So we may need to adjust our budget and our our expenditures as we're going through next year if we get cuts to federal funding through Title I and IDEA for special education funding and so forth. So we may be reacting within a budget year to those situations if they do happen. We don't know what's going to happen. But certainly from a local and state revenue side, the growth is just not what we're used to. We're used to seeing 3, 4, 4.5% growth in our revenue side. And then we were able to keep up with that on the expenditure side, but it's just not there this year. So that's why you see an expenditure budget that's only increased 2.5%, but yet it's still at a $3.2 million deficit from revenues to expenditure. Next slide is a revenue summary. What you see here is a kind of a flip-flop of about $400,000 local to state. That is the tax relief money that we talked about earlier, and the small reduction we had from the state Social Security and retirement because we cut salary expenditures. So this does contain that increase in the property tax reduction of $484,000, but it does not include any tax increase. So here's where we're at. In order to balance this budget, at this point, on May 6th, we would need a tax increase of 3.6477%, which is 4.9337 mils. That $3,220,000 that we talked about. That is an increase of $156.69 per home for the median assessed property that qualifies for homestead farmstead. Now I would say that if you take the increase in property tax reduction into consideration, that $40, that increase drops from $156 to $116, or about a 2.7% increase. Okay. This is just the expenditure summary. Again, you can see where we're up from year to year. We're up in salaries, employee benefit costs, and purchase professional services, and those are driven by the special ed costs. Down $800,000 in equipment. That's the removal of the school buses. So overall, we're about $4 million increase from the current budget to where we're at on May 7th. I'm sorry, May 6th. Or on May. That's the object summary. 71.5% of all dollars go to salary and benefits in the school district. Budget timeline. Here we are on May 6th. May 12th, we need the first vote on the budget by the board. May 27th, then we have to start our process of making the budget available for public inspection, advertising, and so forth. We come back on June to the finance meeting. We can make changes after the first budget vote, and then we will have a second budget vote on June 16th. So budget has to be voted on twice, but can be changed between the votes. Outstanding considerations, property and general liability, we still have insurance, we still have our estimates in the budget. Our last meeting with our brokers, they felt confident that our programs would come in within the budget. The school bus funding, again, we reduced that about $860,000 that we took out of the budget. We still have a budgetary reserve, small budgetary reserve, about $337,000. Other things that can impact us are gas prices, diesel fuel, heating oil, and so forth, and cost of electricity. We are working with the IU within the IU consortium to work on our purchases for gasoline, diesel, and heating oil for next year. We're starting to look at those costs. Any requested new positions or staffing changes that come up will have to be put in place. Any potential legislation like charter school tuition rate cap, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. On the revenue side, what will actually happen with the governor's budget, we never know that. By June 30th, we will find out what our actual amounts will be, if any, sometime July, August, or whenever the state budget gets passed this year. And then any potential federal funding changes that are out there lurking that we don't know about at this time, that could have an impact on our overall revenue next year. So those things are still up in the air, but we do our best to estimate them and figure out what to put in our budgets for the third area. Some potential legislation out there, House Bill 1372 just came into play, I think, last week. Some focus areas, amend the school code, so new regulations on advertising and sponsorships in public schools, and revised definitions and provisions for charter schools. So here's where we're talking about a potential cap for cyber charter school tuition rates in this House bill. It is referred to the House Education Committee at this point. The current status as of today or yesterday was under committee consideration. Angela, do you want to jump in?
Sure. You know, we've talked about this House bill in particular, and I know at last night's committee meeting there was a presentation on Penridge's cyber program, and we will definitely be having a concerted effort to try to attract Penridge residents who may have their children going to cyber charter schools that cost a sizable sum in tuition. And if a student has an IEP, the costs are even more so. But what this House bill would do, if it were to be passed by the legislature, it would cap cyber school tuition rates to around $8,000. I've also heard $10,000. But we'll take it. We'll take any reduction at this point. The state has done audits of various cyber schools. There's been, the Auditor General's had some grave concerns along with the public about some of the financials, transactions of various cyber schools, and lack of transparency as far as the records not being open for public to get a good review on how these taxpayer dollars are being allocated and spent. Different bonus structures, real estate transactions, so on and so forth. So I know our board president has spoken about this publicly at our meetings and has actually written an op-ed recently to advocate for this this much needed legislation. So to help school districts, like I said, we have a very robust program here at Penridge that so we'll be in touch with some families to try to make some connections. So thank you for reviewing this, Mr. Delbert.
Dan and I believe that if the rate reduced to 8,000 based on our current cyber charter school number of kids, our savings would be somewhere $700,000 to $800,000.
That's significant. That's like 4 buses or 5 buses.
It's the buses that we removed from the budget.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's significant. It would be a significant savings for us.
So anyone listening at home, please contact your state senator and rep.
Yeah,
We can make this happen if we get enough support. I know there's a lot of lobbying done by the cyber charter schools to say that they're doing a great job and be wise with their money, but they're spending it on lobbying on our reps and senators, and that's probably why it's been taking so long to get going. Yeah, 1 year alone, they gave their employees all a $7,000 bonus. I wish we could do that, but it's not going to happen. So it's excessive and needs to change. Thanks for putting a number on it, because I've heard that number before, but that's a significant amount of money for us, and certainly how many millage point tax increase that would be avoided if we could do that. Right. Certainly.
Okay, so that's the end of what I have for you. Open it for discussion. How we move forward. We do need to bring you a budget on Monday. That's on the state approved budget document. And, you know, within that budget document, in order to balance that budget, we would need to bring you a tax increase of the 3.6477%, or the which equals the 4.9337 mil, to raise the $3.22 million to balance this budget. Again, that's an $156 increase to the median assessed property, which will be reduced by $40 with the increase from the state and the funding for tax reduction.
For those.
So those property owners receive about a 2.7% increase. So that's my recommendation to you as board, is to pass a budget that has that increase in it after 8 years of no tax increase, and being able to balance budgets. I think we've showed you why we're at the point where we're at, and we have cut expenditures to the point where if we cut more expenditures, we're going to start cutting programs, educational programs, and we're going to start to go into a reduction of force status here in the district in order to cut further than where we're at right now. So I think we've been able to do as much as we can without impacting education.
So I know we talked about like capital projects and projecting them out and money we might need to address those issues. But some of the things we talked about, like the buses, are they part of capital
No.
projects? Yeah.
They've been removed.
So the things that we've, you know, taken out and put off, and salaries are going to go, even though we've replaced them with, you know, newer teachers, they are eventually going to keep moving up and getting paid more too. Like this isn't going to get better.
That's
Yeah.
a continuous cycle.
Right.
We'll go through this every year, where next year when we start this process, you know, the first thing that Mrs. Kraus is gonna do is put those buses back in her budget.
Well, plus two more that
And-
should be done that year.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start off next year $800,000 in the hole because we removed them, now we put them back in.
Right.
So before we even start, we're under the gun at that point. So, yeah, this is not a 1 year and the solution's fixed here. Especially if the local and state revenues continue where they're at and don't rebound, this is gonna be a multi-year issue where we're gonna have to look at every position again next year
Mhm.
with the same emphasis that we looked at it this year. And when retirements happen, we're gonna look at every position and say, do we still need that position? Can we do that another way? Can we move people around and not replace that position? And we did that with 7 teaching positions this year.
Right.
So we talked about right-sizing the staffing based on the enrollment. And that's the process we're going through. But to get any more of that this year, that's where I'm coming back and saying, now we're gonna go into a reduction of force that's not through attrition.
Right.
It's a reduction of force.
So in essence, we are pushing off $800,000
We,
into the future, and that's part of balancing the budget. Or we would have to raise more money somewhere else.
correct. I'm
So, in essence, we are doing it a little bit, but I see no other alternative than to start raising more funds, and I agree with you. Maybe the revenue will turn around and start growing in the future, we don't know that, which would certainly help. But I think we need to take a step back and look at, we know our enrollment's dropped, what, 10% in the last 10 years, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
7,300,
So
7,261.
anytime a position is vacant, I think we need to look at that.
Absolutely.
Not just a retirement or anything, we need to see that, hey, we're turning out less students now, but do we need that same staff? And sometimes we get stuck in that, well, this person's been here and we need to replace them, and I think that should go out the window now. Because there are ways of combining roles and doing things that we're just not we just don't have the output that we have, so.
I agree with you, Mr. Wers, and also something we're not talking about right now is that we're staring down the barrel of a potential reduction in federal funding. And I think Mr. Dauber thinks, with our Director of Finance, that we need to have some reserves in case we don't get those funds. So we have to make some tough decisions. Do we forego those 3 or 4 buses this year to have capital in our fund balance, in our capital project fund, in the event that we're looking to the future? And there will be a coming attraction. You're going to learn about potential projects for 2026. There are also an upcoming features. You'll hear about the enrollment study that we just had done this year by Breslin. And they will have a public presentation with recommendations about enrollment and what we should do moving forward to give us the best information to make informed decisions for our community. So it's a very, with the flattened revenue and also the uncertainty right now. And we're not the only school district that is, I only know of one district, I believe, that is not raising taxes in Bucks County. We're not following what everyone else is doing, but 8 years without an increase. Some folks who I speak to are a lot smarter than I am, say incremental increases help the coffers and help you remain solvent. So I believe the time has come, and I know it's going to be very unpopular for me to say publicly. I'm sure I'll receive a lot of interesting emails about this, but as I want to back up what Mr. Dauber said here, if we're not going to go this route, then we need to start going deeper and to figure out what it is we're willing to give up. Do you want to compromise programs for our students or a reduction in force? We think through attrition as people retire, transfer, and looking at these positions, as Mr. Wers just said, not just replacing somebody. So Mr. Wers is retiring, okay, we have a posting tomorrow, let's hire. We need to look at this through a K through 12 continuum, both vertically and horizontally, and figure out certifications, who can go where, so we can repurpose some folks to ensure that we have some financial equilibrium here, where we're not being wasteful, we're working efficiently and running lean if we have to. I know during the pandemic, school districts throughout the country, we became accustomed to ESSER's funding. We also instituted a lot of programs to help our kids at that particular time with needs that they had, and they were valid. Different mental health components, different staffing components, loss of learning, all this different federal funding that the inflows are no longer there, but districts have these resources now that I don't want to say they're saddled with. That is a negative connotation, but we've become it's luxurious to have some of these services that we offer, whether it's curriculum, whether it's outside contracts with providers. So we really have to look at what can we do in an efficient manner, but also deliver high quality instruction without sacrificing our students' education. So I'll stop talking now, Mr. Doctor.
Absolutely fine. You're absolutely fine.
We're, and not to, but something to look into, because you said that they're gonna, with the enrollment, they're gonna look at some things and pitch some recommendations. And this might also not be a popular thing to state, or at least to look at, but I think it's worth looking at. If enrollment is going down, the possibility of like merging two elementary schools into one, like I don't know if that's something, but it would just be interesting to look at the possibilities with something like that as well. Again, it might not be popular, but
Everything's on the table.
I couldn't agree more. I think everything is going to be explored and on the table, and the 9 elected officials, and we would make a recommendation and we would talk about it publicly to make the best decision possible.
What elementary school has enough room to absorb another school?
It's interesting.
I don't know about an elementary. I'm not prepared to answer this
Yeah.
right now. I know our lowest enrolled elementary is Sellersville right now. So could we look at redistricting in the future, potentially? Could we look at?
Remember, we're adding full-day kindergarten there, so we're gonna be eating up space.
Yes.
I saw some preliminary numbers, and some of our building utilization is way down, under 50%. So, I mean, that's where those numbers. but we'll
That's
get a
what we
chance
need to
look.
look at, not necessarily in building utilization.
Mhm.
So if we have 3 middle schools and one is underutilized, and we take a look at the expenditures to run a building, and we'll have to review all options. Because enrollment right now is a little over 6,100 students. So just 7 years ago, we had over 7,000 students. So we just have to think, and I don't want to make projections or predictions right now. I'm just doing my best to answer the question you posed.
Well, we need the projections for the future enrollment, and we need how the utilization study for the schools.
Those
before we
folks are
can-
coming
Yeah,
to,
I know
they're
they're coming.
coming to June meeting.
Then we'll all be much better informed.
Yes.
June meeting.
They're wrapping up these studies right now. We're going through everything, and we will have that to you shortly.
So I think enrollment in most schools has been down since COVID, obviously, and not many of them have been rebounding. I mean, some of them have, but not many. So, I thought we were working to try and get those students back, you know, like, or are we just
This is much
gonna
better
let
than
that
COVID.
keep sliding?
I think if you look at the enrollment study, Ms. Rash, that will go out. The experts who will deliver this presentation will show you that if we look at the first enrollment study Breslin did, in today's numbers, they are extremely accurate. So the projections, when did they have that?
27.
2017. So the enrollment numbers of 2025, they predicted they were on target. So I think if you look at demographics locally, it's not all about just attracting students back. We have a lot of high percentage of residents that are 65 and older, and they're not selling their homes, and younger families are moving in. So we have a lot to analyze, and so I don't know if it's just an issue of attracting students back. I just don't think
Part of it.
it's part of it, but I don't know if that's the complete answer. It'll be an innovative presentation. I anticipate we'll have some great questions from the board and some wonderful feedback. So.
And I think it's really needs to be, reiterated to the community that, okay, this is a tax increase, but there are good things that are coming with this tax increase. The implementation of full-day kindergarten, which our community has asked for, this year in this budget, and then next year for the other half of that, right? That's gonna be in that budget. That's a great thing. The additional dollars for the EDR, for our staff, our coaches and teachers that haven't got a raise in over 10 years. The additional school psychologists to help kids. Those things, the additional autistic support teachers, those things are in here. It's not that this is just all cut, right, and all reduction. There are some good things that we added in this budget, that the board had the forthwith to put in place, like full-day kindergarten, that we need to pay for, right? Full-day kindergarten is 14 teachers throughout the district, at least two rooms per building, and then we may need more than that if we get a lot of kindergarten teachers. So, there's more to this than just we cut a lot.
But let's play that out a little more. So if we offer full-day kindergarten, and we're doing that in a phased-in plan, 3 or 4 years from now, that could attract more families to come in just because of that full-day kindergarten component. That could be a great gravitational pull for folks to move to Pembridge, I think.
I guess first I just want to say too, I know you guys have been working so hard and trying to figure out how you can balance the budget, and I understand that this is your recommendation. I'm personally, I'm not prepared to increase taxes this year, and I think it's part personally because first off, I'm married to Frugal Frank, and we very much so live in our means, and so it's just in me that way. And the other part, that I feel like we're not talking about enough is that we're gonna be debt free in 2028. And I know like this year alone, we saved $6 million from the debt falling off, and we're in that position, which is like super amazing. Not a lot of other, I don't know of another district that's happening to. So in my view, also too with like the fund balance, we've always balanced our budget, done such a great job. We haven't had to pull from the fund balance because we've always lived within that. And so I just feel like we have to live within our means. Once we're debt free, we'll have an extra 12 million each year. So I don't look at it like we need to be cutting more to try to get to this. I feel like we do have some reserves. I appreciate, because I know like we carry our fund balance at the highest percent that we can, which that's like fiscal and smart, but we could possibly carry it a little bit less to try to make up for this. I know it's like you were mentioning with there's a lot of uncertainty, but that'll be uncertainty with everybody, you know, and that would, if we do this, that'll be increasing everybody else's uncertainty. So that's just where I'm at, you know, personally right now, where I feel like we have the means that we could cover this, and we have a couple years until we're debt free, and we'll be having a lot of money coming in.
But I will say, yes, you're right, the debt-free happens, but without that debt-free, those projects don't happen. That's where the money's coming from, those projects. And in order to do those projects, those capital projects, without that money from going debt-free, we start borrowing again and to do those projects. And when we start borrowing again, then we start paying interest on bonds. So there is the choice. You could take that money from going to debt-free and balance the budget, but now there's no funding for capital projects. And then the only way we do capital projects and maintain the buildings is to borrow money. And now we've got to go back to the general fund budget and add debt service payments, and quite frankly, probably add taxes in order to fund debt service payments to pay off debt and interest in order to do capital projects. Because if you stop doing capital projects, the buildings are just going to fall apart. And we will create a tremendous mess for the district if we stop doing capital projects. So that's the option. You either use that money to balance the budget, or you use that money for capital projects. You can't use that money twice.
But we have the fund balance money as well, which
But
is
the fund-
16 million.
But if you use the unreserved fund balance is $12 million. If you use it to balance $3 million this year, what do you do next year? Next year you start the budget with a $3 million hole, and the Act 1 index goes down. It's not 4% next year. It's roughly 3.7. So the 3.5 million is now 3.2 million, and you walk into next year with a $3.2 million deficit. And how do you balance that budget? Because now you can only raise less than 3.5 million, and you have next year's increase in cost and no increases in local revenue. So it's a vicious cycle. If you don't fix it now, you're digging a hole that you will not be able to get out of. We will not be able to tax ourselves out of the hole because you're limited in the amount of tax you can do each year. And once you don't take the tax, it's gone. So we're at a deficit rate, and if you fix it now, you have a chance to even it off and be able to stay with it in the future. But if you let it go into a hole, you'll never get back out of that hole because you can never regain what you lose.
But I don't see us getting in
And
the hole.
I respect your position, I do. I respect your position, but I respectfully disagree with it because it will create a funding deficit within the district, which I believe, after 30 years of this, we will not be able to get ourselves back out of. Because Act 1 with the limit is such a tight limit, and it's only going down, right? Last year was 5.3%. This year it's 4%. Next year it's estimated at 3.7%. It's going to keep going down. So our ability to catch up will go down each year, right? And once you lose it, once you don't take it, it's gone. So I get it. I understand. Nobody ever wants to raise taxes. I haven't wanted to since the day I got here, and we haven't for 8 years. And I've never stood up here and said, raise taxes, raise taxes, raise taxes. But this is the time where I'm recommending to this board to raise taxes. Because I think we are at a reflection point where if we don't, we won't be able to dig ourselves out and be able to do the things we want to do, because we want to fix the buildings, we want to do capital projects, we want to do other things for the kids as far as athletic fields and stuff like that. But the only way you're going to do that is through money, and you either do the money through the general fund budget or you start borrowing again. And when you start borrowing again, now you're adding interest cost and you're adding debt service. So you, like I said, you can't use the same money twice. You can only use it once. It's either going to capital projects or it's going to balance the budget.
2026 summer, summer 2029, 8, 10, 10, and 12. What are those projects?
Don't know yet.
We're throwing numbers in there.
Wait.
We're throwing dollars out there, and you don't have a clue. That's a wish list.
No, we went through this, and we averaged out all the capital projects before that. And these 2 years are very, very low. You go back, we spent 12, 13, you can get the data.
I know what
So
the
I
advance
asked them
was.
to come up with an approximation based on history, not the last 2 years that we would say, we would only spend, we're not gonna.
I got you.
Okay,
So-
so it's not just a dart throw.
No, but those are numbers that come out from past expenditures.
Last
Correct.
year,
Am I correct on that?
last year.
So we technically don't know where that $10 million in 2028 is gonna go. You'll find that out when you do your capital plan.
Right.
But I get you're projecting something that you really don't have any control of. You're throwing a number out there.
No,
It's a very educated guess,
yes.
based on where prices have went and where we've been.
And
We know the
historically,
last
what we
couple-
said.
Well, what
We
we,
know the last couple of years, we spent $8 to $10 million of capital projects. And
well, I know, I've been part of it.
yes,
Okay, I know what the capital projects are.
I think
But
it's,
if I'm not
I think-
incorrect from what I think those dollars are gonna go for, are gonna be really infrastructure problem in each one of the schools. That's gonna be the key. Because your school, your individual square box school
Mhm,
is where those dollars have to go.
absolutely.
No other place.
Why do you think it's gonna go down?
I don't think it's gonna be as much money to fix the schools.
I mean, just from personal experience, I can look at the $8 million in '26, and I mean, that could be. Do we have an estimation on roof longevity? Like, where are we at for roofs? Because, I mean, that could be $3 million right there for a roof at a school. We could have a boiler break or an issue with HVAC units that is multi-million dollars. I mean, I see this, the cost on these items going up every day just in my own work. But it's a new roof is getting substantially more expensive as the days go on. I remember 4 years ago there was a shortage in the chemical that they used to make the foam to do a roof, and the prices like tripled in no time. You couldn't put a new roof on a building for whatever the cost had been. So I mean, I think $8 million, 10, 12, while they might be high numbers to do capital projects, for a district this size, it's.
Why don't you provide the numbers for everybody going back the last 10 years for what we spent on capital projects, so we have an idea of why we put those numbers in?
No, I get it. I feel like you did an average of over.
You have to,
But-
because some years you spend more, some years we spend 13 million, I remember looking at it, so.
But, and I know prices have gone up, but like we've been here before. In 2022, I mean, gas prices went up 100%. Like we didn't raise then, so I feel like it's not like this is
So
something
where would
new.
you cover that 3.2 with? What would you
I feel
get?
like we have the fund balance. We have
You should-
16 million in there. Like
12,
that's not
12 according to him.
12 million.
Okay,
I
so
thought the
then you
last-
take out
the
a
one-
quarter of it.
Presentation was 16 million.
The unreserved fund balance is
Okay.
But the
The other
cost
things
of
we
gas
discussed
going
were-
up 100% is completely different than if we had a catastrophic issue where we had to replace a roof at $3 or $4 million.
Well,
I mean, that's,
But that's a
The roof at
catastrophic, like you
Central-
said.
The roof at Central will be 3.3 million.
3.2.
Roughly 3.2. It's gonna be one of the projects that you see for summer 2026. It's a $3.2 million roof.
Yeah, I don't think we can look ahead that much until we get the information from ICS. So we made an attempt to make sure that this is accurate, but your idea is to drain the reserve.
Not drain,
Well,
because
you-
we also got
that's-
an increase, I know you continue to say that it's a small increase, but we still had an increase in our state funding.
$20,000.
Right, 25,000, so that's an increase from the year before. I don't
That's
know,
not
it's
an
still
increase,
something that's an
really.
increase. I just, again, I feel like we have the reserves at this
So you
time.
would drain it from 12 to 9 million, and then we're 3 million. We have that same cost coming back next year. We're gonna drain another 3 million?
But then the 6 million
That's
that
6
went
million
from our debt
reserve.
drop into the capital funding,
That's all
that
part of
is
the
in
budget.
there.
I don't see that as being a very logical way of protecting the district in the future. I mean, I've gone over tons of budgets in my years, and not just here, but in private companies. You can't just take money out of a reserve and not find a way to replace it. 12 billion is less than 1/10 of a budget, right? So that gets us through 1 month of operating expenses. So this is not a huge, if
I mean,
it's
again, I don't know if
catastrophic.
there's other places to cut.
Well, then
we
come
charge-
up with a list of
We
them.
get 14,000, I mean, I did email.
$3.2 million we need to.
But we get $14,000 per student and what, 30, and we come up with those prices, 14,000 per student and 38,000 for students with special needs. Like, it, again, I just don't, it's hard for me to think.
Cyber, right? That's-
no, because
ripped off.
we create those prices, right? That's what we pay, but we,
That's-
that's,
that's-
we
that's,
just,
that's a funding
That's-
but that's based off of what we charge, correct?
That's the state law, what you have, there's a formula that
2,000.
states
Right,
in
but-
place. It's based on what our.
What do we get per student? Isn't it around that 14?
Well,
what
we
do
have
we
to
get
pay
per
for
student?
that through our taxes.
Right, but that's
Not
what
the
I'm,
state
that's,
doesn't pay.
I'm just,
That's
I'm just
40,000.
asking, like, we have 14,000 per student, so that's why it's hard for me to think that we can't cover. I mean, we do, I know that we have to give that money to charter, but we get that money per student as well.
No, we don't.
no, it's a
So
different
it comes
funding.
from our
Uh,
school
right,
taxes.
Right, but
Right.
each student is a lot, it's basically
Getting
around
rid-
14,000.
You take the total basic ed funding divided by 6,000 kids, $13 million. Basic ed funding, divided by 6,000 kids, what's that?
So you think we should stick with paying the 42?
No, I'm not saying to the charter. What my point is that per student that goes here, there's a number that's attached to that student. Yes, it's paid through taxes, but it's a pretty large number per pupil, per student that comes here. And I guess it's hard for me to think that obviously that student's not getting all the 14,000. It's getting spread out like for whatever salaries, things like that. So those are the types of questions that I ask myself. How are we not able to live within our means when we have that money per pupil allotted to educate them for everything? So it's hard for me to think, how can we not live within our means? How
So
are
how
we
would you
over?
pay for it?
How are we not balanced with our
How would you
budget?
pay for it? Give us specific examples, because, okay, we've had a team of people working on this from us. and
Right.
Under the instruction of removing as much as they can, okay? They come up with $6 million worth of savings. We are short. We haven't raised taxes in 8 years. A lot of districts raise it every year just a little bit, which we always say, don't do that if you don't need the money. We now, because of the contracts, because of the EDR, because of all the things where we are spending significantly more money, it's fiscally irresponsible not to raise taxes. And you're hearing from a guy who's got 8 years in the district and has never come to you for a tax increase unless it's needed. First time, right? Or,
Well, I feel like every year there's a presentation, it's a possibility. Not that you're
Yes.
asking, like this year definitely, but it's always a possibility every time the budget is presented. I don't think it's not been like, no, it's always been
we
presented.
usually got to this point, if we made it by this point, it's balanced. We don't come in June.
I mean, it
and
seems like
go,
there's
"Hey,
more
we just
support
have-"
for it this year as well,
Well,
so
it's the
I'm,
right thing to do for the school district. It
But
hurts to raise taxes, but if you don't,
I wonder if you would do
Very
us like
clear
with the
it's gonna
full day
cost us.
kindergarten, if this is the right year to phase in and do all that.
should
Like
we
again,
stop that?
possibly
How much would that save us?
14 teachers in every building. I'm just saying, maybe that's not the right year. Everyone has all these concerns about what's happening in the world right now. then maybe it's not the time to do some of these things. Because yes, they cut the 6 million, but we're putting other things in place as well. So maybe those are the things we need to look at.
But the number of people I've talked to who avoided moving to the district solely on not having full-day kindergarten is, I think to Dr. Barrios' point is, I think it'll eventually draw people into the district.
And I'm not
I know that I said
disagreeing
it
with that.
again, I said it last year, and, I believe I sat in that seat last year and said the same thing, that I watched as Allentown did the same thing where they refused to raise taxes for 12 years, and it came time to raise taxes, and they were in such a hole, the taxpayers had to pay for it. I mean, we didn't raise they had to substantially pay for it. We didn't raise taxes for 8 years, and now we're arguing on pulling money out of our, in essence, savings account to pay for the, to balance the budget. And I just don't see that that's a fiscally smart idea. As Sean had said, and I go back and I look at the original budget that we had been presented back in March, and then take and look at it now, and you had said that there's a possibility that we would have to raise the taxes again by the Act 1 index next year, based on what the deficit was as it was moving forward. Correct. So if we went with a 3.6% increase this year versus the 4% increase, we're actually shortchanging ourselves $311,000. So over 2 years, that'd be $622,000 that we'd be picking up. I mean, that's the buses that we cut. I mean, I agree. I don't, obviously we all live in this district and nobody wants to see the taxes go up. Well, I just don't see the, what was it? Sorry, just close this here. The difference was between $156 median to $171 median for per property. Yes, it's difficult to swallow any tax increase, but I think I'm in the same boat as Ron. Like, I just can't understand robbing the money out of the unreserved fund balance to balance the budget. And then, for a living, I'm watching these different capital projects and the costs on them come back for RFPs, and seeing the cost on things spiking through the roof almost on a weekly basis. It just, I don't want to see us put ourselves in a worse position going into next year and the following year, just in the hope that by the time we get to 28, we're in good shape.
Also, don't we make money off of the fund balance?
Correct.
So the more we take out of it, the less that's coming in. Also,
interest
it's
earned.
not just the dollars we're pulling out, we're taking future dollars away also.
We budget $3 million a year in interest income.
Right.
So if we remove those dollars from our ability to invest, then we're reducing our interest income, which then needs to be made up somewhere else.
Yes, I
But
feel
it's
like it's
grown.
it's
It's
very
grown each year. We
different
haven't had to
from
pull
like
from it.
budgeting for your household and things like that. Like we don't have a time where the mortgage is paid off and we're just chilling out. Like the schools is like a business. It needs to be maintained, needs to be reinvested.
Sure.
There's a lot of buildings that we're taking care of. Technology is changing. Our student population is changing. We don't have the control that you do of your own household, and it's infinitely more complicated. And so, like someone making, I know, but like someone making a decision personally to say like, well, if I was in this position, I'd pull some money from my savings to get me through the next year's,
But that's what it's
knowing
there
it'll come
for.
out.
I mean, we haven't had to pull from it for years. I mean, we've always had a surplus we would put into it. That's what it's there for.
I thought we did just.
It also helps our bond rating if we ever need to go out too.
I'm
It's
just
not-
saying that. We haven't
Yeah,
never had to
healthy
pull from it.
People, it's not there to be pulled every time you need something.
We haven't. We haven't. So we've been
That's
very
good.
responsible with
That's
that.
good.
Right. So then in cases such as this,
So we shouldn't keep any of that, because we don't need it, right? So we should use it all.
Hey,
You're gonna drain it down.
the district
right?
wants the money the fund balance extra from the tech to be back here. So I've always made the statement that shouldn't we give that money back to the taxpayers? I've always made that instead of just holding on to it.
Well,
I've always
part
made
of-
that comment.
You use that in the budget.
We haven't
that-
used it in the budget.
Sure we have. If the revenue comes back to us, it's included.
In the fund balance? We have
No,
not used
in
that
our
money.
operating budget, right? We're not, we get revenue from somewhere, we have to track it. You can't just bring it back and let it disappear.
Sean,
I'm just-
excuse me.
No, no.
Ron, how much interest have we gained over the 8 years in that fund balance account? Just approximate, I mean, I'm at.
$12 million, the last year was 4.5% interest rate. It's considerable.
I would guess it would be well over $3 million.
No, no. It'll be over years.
Over an 8-year period of time.
Yeah, it was higher.
Over the 8 years, we
You have
haven't,
to remember though,
There for a while.
before COVID, we were getting 1/10% of interest.
Oh, I understand.
1/4% of interest. Our interest earnings have went from roughly $200,000 a year to $3 million a year. Do you remember before
Oh, I
COVID,
remember.
interest rates were?
it just needs to be stated that the account has accumulated dollars.
Sure, but those dollars don't go into the fund balance, they go in as a revenue in the general fund budget and help balance the budget.
So if we take money out.
They go to pay for
So-
operating costs.
So you're taking that interest from fund balance and you're putting that into the operating budget.
Yes, that's where it has to go.
Yeah, that's what I just said, I said when we pay from fund balance, we're actually taking money out of revenue also.
Okay.
So it becomes a part of our operating budget. It's one of the pieces, one of the revenue pieces in the operating budget, yes. Yeah.
And that number over the 8 years is what?
Well, I think it also goes back to the same point, though, that if it was 1/4% or 1/10% years ago, any more money that we would have to borrow going forward is gonna be paid at a higher interest rate now, right? Because the rates are higher, so
Rates are higher.
inevitably, we're taking the short gain that we're getting off of 1/4%, pulling it out of the unassigned fund balance, pushing that money forward, possibly needing to borrow money at a higher interest rate, so we're paying back on a higher interest rate even though we used to earn on a lower. Like, the numbers are,
Yes.
it's not a 1-to-1.
No.
I mean, if we started borrowing for capital projects at this point in time, we would be borrowing at 6-7%, 8% on bonds. When we did the refinancing a few years ago, 3% for those bonds. So it's completely different interest rate atmosphere than it was when we did those refinancing a few years ago. I'll say, I said it last month, I mean, if interest rates cut, like, if something happens and interest rates go from 4%, which is what we're earning now, to 1%, we've got a big problem in the general fund budget, because we have a $3 million revenue line item for interest. And if that goes to $1 million, we've got to figure out how to make up $2 million. And that is completely out of our control, what happens to interest rates. There's so much that's outside of our control, and there's so much on the expenditure side that's outside of our control. Remember, the chart we put up last month that showed retirement and all the other mandated costs and how they went up over, the last 15 years, compared to the costs that we can actually control, that went up less than the rate of inflation. It's those things that are outside of the district, the board's control.
What are the things that influence our bond rating?
What influences our bond rating? One of the big things they do look at is they look at fund balance. They look at your budget, your budget is balanced or not.
Mm-hmm.
They look if you are using fund balance to balance your budget. They look at your they look at the district's taxing ability as far as your assessed value, whether you're growing or not, or if you're contracting. They look at that. They look at the population of the school district, whether the school district itself is losing population or gaining population. So, and student population, so student and, you know, resident population?
So what would happen then if we kept pulling from the fund balance and then we are getting the, like, more money off of from the debt reduction, but we're, you know, sinking our fund balance lower and lower, and we waited to do big projects in order to make this happen, and now we need to borrow to do some big projects, what position would we be in? Like, would we?
Compared to now, our position would be worse, because they're looking at that. If we have no fund balance, the bond rating is gonna drop. They're looking at your overall ability to pay back that debt, right?
Mhm.
And how healthy the district is financially. And yeah, if you're using fund balance, you're declining fund balance, and they're seeing those fiscal keys going in the wrong way, they're gonna drop the bond rate, there's no doubt.
And then we'll be paying more on what we borrow
Higher
with less ability to.
Bond rating goes
pay it
down,
back.
the interest rate you pay goes up.
Right,
That was one of the reasons we were able to renegotiate the bond when we saved all that money, because we had a good rating,
Yes,
and that enabled us to get it.
we actually got a step up based on a bond rating step up based on our
I
finances.
think you just jeopardize your whole future if you pull down that. And,
I agree.
so we'll look for other ideas then for saving that, Jordan, or are we done with that?
I'm sorry?
You have any other ideas you want to, I mean, it's kind of a late stage to be doing that. I mean, if we were going to look to explore additional savings, we should have brought it up a long time.
No, I brought up,
Even
know,
if it's
the
a
first
fiscal
budget meeting.
disaster?
I'm sorry?
Even if it's a fiscal disaster for the future?
Again, I guess I just feel like we have other options, and again, we just have to live within our means until we're gonna be debt-free in 3 years, and I feel like that's possible. And we could be able to do that, like, again, maybe now's not the time to do full-day kindergarten. Like, those are sometimes the difficult decisions, I don't know, like, that you have to make. I just don't,
But I want, as a point of clarification, full-day kindergarten, I know Mr. Dauber said 14 teachers, but through retirements, we already have full-day kindergarten teachers in place. And we have developmental kindergarten teachers in place. So we didn't go out and hire 14
Right.
teachers. I
And it's
just
only
want,
half this year, it's not all 4.
and it's a phased-in
Right.
approach
Phased in
here, so.
Correct.
And we've done a lot of committee work, and the board's already approved a rollout of it, so I think at this point, it would be I would not recommend even touching, you know, the wheels are in motion for it.
you just hear other members of the board saying there's a lot of uncertainty, you know, including yourself, so I'm just saying, like, that is something that maybe we should be more cautious on, that's all. Like, if you say there's uncertainty, we need to raise taxes, but then we're also gonna make a big move on this.
But
And even if the wheels are in motion, I don't know.
It's also something the community wanted for, and it's asked for so long.
Well, it's some of the
We're
community.
only-
I always hate when people say like the community, because we heard from a small percentage, not the full community. There were a couple people that came out and spoke, and yes, but you can't just say the community as a whole, because we haven't heard from the whole community on
But
this
that's always
issue.
been the argument, is whenever anything happens, it's the community came out
It's
and
good for
spoke.
property values, it's good for the kids, and it will bring more kids in the school so they don't have to pay for it, go to some other one, so it'll help our enrollment number. It's kind of late to bring this into the game at the last second.
Well, that part-
We should have spoken on that when we approved it, and so we
Right,
shouldn't.
and
do
I
that.
was hesitant, but that's fine. Again, I would be comfortable, fine, to either look at where we can, again, I don't know how much all we pay for our licenses and which ones that we still specifically need. I know I put that in an email, I don't know all of those, numbers. And obviously, I was against, of the making our trainer position salary with benefits, like that was something I did vote against. So there's certain things that have increased that we've voted on that have, are also in play. So, I mean, that's just,
That's like a $200,000.
but there's been other ones, like, I feel like nobody says no to anything, whether it's like a stipend here or there, like that.
You
so-
think that's gonna come up with $3.2 million?
I mean, it would
I
go
think you're
toward
just
it.
grasping at straws here.
I'm just saying, I feel like we have enough money, we're going to be debt-free in 3
It's
years.
3 years, but by that
Mhm.
time, we would drain
So
our
then you
fund
phase
balance.
out, you phase, when we do our capital projects, we make sure
Instead
that
of
we're
making the
phasing it
school
in
better.
appropriately.
Instead of making the school better.
But I also go back to, just to throw this out there, South Middle School is 94 years old. I
Right.
mean, it could, there, you know, plan for the worst and hope for the best. It's, I mean, I think making the tough choices isn't cutting full-day kindergarten. It's looking at this and saying, what can we do to right the ship? It's not pulling money out of the unreserved fund balance to as a stopgap and hoping that we can get out of trouble in 3 years. It's,
I mean,
it's
6 million this year that we've saved. Like, I can't believe we're not able to make that work with 6 million that we saved this year.
Understanding of the numbers.
Did you see how much we've already saved? Like, it isn't, I mean, I don't think anyone wants to increase taxes. But I mean, I know that we've all asked questions and even emailed in questions to see how else can we save, what can we do? And I think we're at a point and it's been explained. I get your, you know, I'm listening to your position. But I think there really doesn't seem to be another choice. And I hear you with the full day kindergarten, and with that, it took us a while to figure out this is what we want, we're phasing it in. And I know we don't speak to all the community, but I know you speak to people, we all speak to people, and they're excited. If anything, I've been hearing, I hope I get picked for the lottery, I hope I get picked for the lottery. And then if we don't want to also kick the can down the road. And I get the fiscally responsible, I am too, you know, and I get it. It's I don't think it's easy for anyone. I don't think it's easy for Sean to get up there and be like, listen, these are our numbers, but that's the reality of how we're living and things are increasing. So as much as I wouldn't want to, I feel like this is the smart thing, because we want our schools to grow. We want to be able to give more to our students, and that all costs money. You know, you love the tech school, we love the tech school. We like to do career pathways together and incorporate new programs, STEM, that's all money. And I feel like I'm seeing, this isn't so easy, so I know I like to ask questions. We're seeing like the moving and this teacher's leaving, and how do we replace them? What can we do? It's so many pieces working together. I wish it would work out, but even then, it's like we still need, in order to improve, I understand that our numbers are going down with students, but we want to, when they leave here, I know we all want them to be successful. And I think in order to do that, we need to invest in our schools more. Unfortunately, we just don't have the means right now. Is my
Any other one? Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
Anything else?
From the way up high view, I think as a board we've made much needed changes to attract people to come to the district in terms of moving in. We've made much needed changes to provide relief to families in the community in terms of childcare costs. I think we've made much needed changes to try and attract and retain staff. And those things are going to eventually amount. We've had the fact that throughout the past several years, we have had costs go up and up and up. And there comes a point where you can't cut forever. Mr. Delbert, I've heard every single person on this board, past and present, who I've ever talked to, talk about the fact that he's able to work absolute miracles for this district. And I'm fairly certain I've never met somebody who I think numbers keep up at night as much as Mr. Delbert. So when he comes to us with a serious proposition of telling us that this is what is within our best interest for the longevity of our school district, for the health and upkeep of this community, I'm inclined to give him my trust, because he has done, I am sure, his very best, and I am sure he's going to spend the next several days doing his very best again. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with a slightly smaller number by the time we end up at that June meeting, because he will have been staying up every night trying to figure out a way to try and keep those costs even lower for us. Every single person up on this stage is invested in this community. When we are talking about raising taxes, we are talking about every single one of our costs up here going up. From our administrators to our school boards, we are one of the main employers in this district in terms of the staff that work for us, and the people who live here and are invested in this community. So for the long-term health of the district, I think this is what we might need to do. I'm incredibly grateful that we've been able to have so long where we haven't had to raise taxes. But as I said, we can't cut forever, and there comes a point where we have to let the school grow to meet the needs of a changing world.
Thank you. I think that wraps it up. Thanks. I do trust your judgment on this. And, I think what you propose is the correct thing we should do and move on. And that's about it. Thank you. Anything else? The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for June 2nd, 2020, June 10th. Can't even read straight anymore. 10, 2020.
No public comment.
No public.